Haven't done one of these in a while, so let's get into the third part of showcasing podcast plays from video/blogging site Manic Expression that has hosted my videos from nearly its beginning 10 years ago. Note however that finding these plays from the site itself can be difficult, because 2 years ago the site's forums were filled with so much spam that its host service pulled the plug before it could become a national security threat. Therefore, even after reconstruction, some of the content is still missing, and maybe some of these plays have become lost media. But hey, at least the site works and has managed to be up longer than any other site of its kind. Yeah, take that Reviewtopia. The first two plays in today's video are both short ones, neither of them passing 15 minutes, and the first one is a sci-fi drama Futility from 2016. It is once again written by the site founder James Daniel Walsh, and once again it was written with specifically me in mind for the lead role. Once again, the goggles of my hearts are worn, but if you remember our previous collaboration that I showcased in the previous video, another time from 2 years prior, I felt that my performance wasn't that stellar. So let's see if I fared better this time.
I play Tapio, a man who is traveling in space, and this play is practically his monologue that is occasionally interrupted by a monotone computer voice played by Lauren cartoon physicist Fox. The writing does a good job in hiding the true nature of the nightmarish situation, but soon it is revealed that Tapio isn't a voluntary traveler. In fact, he's been abducted by aliens who want to dissect him for science. Also, the trip to their home star system takes a while, so he has been traveling for a while. I'm 36. That means my son is going to be 10 next month. 10 years old. Jesus. And I was taken, my wife was just 3 weeks till her due date. She was so big, always complaining, get this kid out of me. Why are you doing this to me? Why can't I just go home?
I just nailed this part. Yes, sometimes I have a latent psychotic snark on my past performances, but sometimes it's okay to say, I am the greatest. This play started a 2-year-long career peak where I was cast roles left and right and did some of my all-time best acting performances. After that, well, I suppose my exotic accent lost its novelty, but anyway, in my all-time rankings, this is the third. I guess if you want to nitpick, it is kind of odd that this conversation hasn't happened before already, but I think I managed to give the right amount of emotion whenever Tapio is stricken with rage or just berates his captors for their cold way of living.
10 years you've studied me, and what have you learned? Nothing. Not a fucking thing. What, you know my sleep habits? You know how much of that flavorless paste you call food I can stomach? You know the consistency of my shit? What does that tell you about my species? You know nothing more about us than when you snatch me off that road. Occasionally cartoon physicist chimes in as Tapio's probably at this point former wife Mackenzie that, while perhaps not needed from narrative perspective, is a solid acting job and breaks the otherwise monotonous soundscape. Because of the nature of the text there's not that much twist, but be assured that it can uphold the tension through its compact length, and both of us voice actors are able to bring strong and natural performances, making Futility among the high tier of the site's podcast offerings.
Let's hurry then to the other short play, also from 2016, called Afterlife, that was this time written by site user Jason is on the house. From what I reminded myself from the Internet Archives, he seems to have done lots of Disney-related stuff, but no info if he has some specific show for it. Anyway, we start the play with our main character Ben, played by Mr. Walsh, whose problem is, as the name might have already alluded to, that he is dead.
I'm dead?
Yep. You got any questions?
Yeah. Is no one dying right now other than me?
Of course people are dying. I'm everywhere, always. Time and space only matters to the fleshy folk. We're immune to that shit. There is no right now or then or here or there.
Death is played by Les Lohner in perhaps his best role. For his deadpan, no pun intended, delivery makes his interpretation of the Grim Reaper the play's comedic genius. Generally the banter between the characters is clever when it goes through Ben's misconception in regards of the life after and Death roasting him about it. That being said, there are also those parts where the dialogue gets stuck in repeating the same stuff.
All those things can be in the afterlife.
Yeah, but they won't be real. They'll just be figments of my imagination.
Nothing is real. There is no such thing as real. That's another illusion. You'll understand that if you just decide to go to the afterlife.
Okay, so if nothing is real, then what is this?
That will be made clear in the afterlife.
But dying is not all fun and games, for there are also drama portions. And this is where the play fumbles somewhat in its execution.
Even on some more somber moments, for example when Ben says farewells to his boyfriend Carl played by the writer, the play can't just help itself but to remind us it's supposed to be comedy with Death's interrupting remarks. Introducing a drama moment this late in the play can be effective, but due to the non-consistent tone it doesn't stick to landing. In fairness, the serious part at the ending works a tad better due to giving interesting philosophical ponderings. Overall, despite struggling with the balance between drama and comedy, Afterlife is a decently funny little rom with stellar cast and some nice audio design with its soundtrack selection.
The next two plays are in longer length of hour and 10 minutes each, and the first one of them is another wall script, Pictures at an Exhibition, that is also the name of the composition by Modest Mussorgsky. You know, the bra ba 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 bra ba 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 ba. You know, it was in some ancient Elder Scrolls 4 meme video. Moving on, the play takes its inspiration from pictures drawn by Victor Hartmann, which is also where the whole Mussorgsky's composition is based on, and all its 10 chapters plus the prologue called Promenade are taken inspiration from some of the pictures. Oh, those weird places where you can get your ideas from.
Our protagonist, who is an unnamed composer, also tries to get inspiration from Hartmann's works, but can't because not much of them have been preserved for posterity, and because he's lost his creative mojo due to a yet-to-be-revealed personal tragedy that he wants to forget with the help of illegal pills. The composer's pill addiction is emphasized in the first chapter Gnome, who is not a fairy tale creature, but a Puerto Rican drug dealer who tries to swindle more money from him. The music from the compositions joins during tenser moments, but the mixing is less than stellar because the music is often too quiet to be truly effective.
The composer grabbed the butt of the gnome's gun and yanked it from his pants. Sally screamed, and the gnome released the composer, both taking a step back. The composer pointed the gun at the both of them, shaking off the last bit of pain. His heart jack-rabbit in his chest. He had never held a gun before. "What do you think you're gonna do with that, maricon?" the gnome spat.
Indeed, unlike any other Manic Expression podcast play, this has been done in audiobook style, where one actor is doing all the roles, in this case Anthony Matteo Garcia. This style can work, but it needs a specific type of acting style, more calm and mellow than what is chosen here. There's just so much emphasis on everything and all emotions are so overshooted. Granted, I have done that in some of my older reviews, but eventually I toned it down because I realized that being emotional all the time gets awkward and exhausting for the listener. Though this play's events don't do it any favors either.
The basic structure of the narrative is the composer meeting all kinds of colorful individuals, some real, some pill-conjured hallucinations, that come and go, and him refusing to accept reality. Some of these scenes offer decent building blocks for subtle surrealism, even if the symbolism tends to be too obvious, like the physical manifestations of hope and despair. However, sometimes the writing tries too hard.
For example, chapter 2, Old Castle, where the composer sits on a park bench when by coincidence a woman in a cowgirl outfit comes in drunken stupor and then turns out she is his ex-wife. Oh yeah, she lost her beloved horses after hitting hard times after their shared tragedy. It's by this point hinted to involve their daughter Melody. And all I could think of during their fight was how contrived and melodramatic this whole situation is. I suppose it's more dignified than a later scene where the composer attempts to rob an old Jewish couple who instead proceed to kick his ass.
Pixels at an exhibition is too soap opera-like for my taste, especially in its execution, but there are some decent moments in handling the tragedy in the backstory, revealing more information about it one by one, which managed to keep tension. Still, I rather recommend James's magnum opus Bloodshot. For the final play in today's video, we have work from another regular podcast writer, Patricia Miranda, namely 2080's Reflection.
The writer stars as Joe Anderson, a high school history teacher who is leaving for a short vacation in order to get married. This is a relief for many because she's feared for her strictness among her students, and her colleagues hope taking a break and getting hits would mellow her out a bit. Well, she's a tiny bit more lax with her husband to be Luke Mertz, played by James Daniel Walsh, who is in one of those firm jobs that are never specified what they are producing.
Acting-wise, while Patricia and James doesn't have that strong of a chemistry as they had in their previous collaboration High Class Academy, they are solidly natural performances. And Patricia does a good job in Joe's teachery presence.
Jo has her bachelorette party coming up, and the most important participants to it are her bridesmaids, big sister Judy, played by Megan fanfic critic Vessels, and little sister Melanie, played by Erin Jesuskin Collard. Judy is a successful documentary director living in the West Coast with a family, and it's hinted it has been a while since she and Joe met the last time, whereas Melanie is about to graduate from college in cosmetology field. The sister trio have decent chemistry as well, even if it's made artificially because oddly none of their friends in the bachelorette party have any lines.
Now, what was it that the loser team had to do again, Mulaney?
Don't you dare!
Well, the losing team has to
Take a double shot of whiskey ginger. Go on, ladies, bottoms up.
I'll never forgive you for this. I'm gonna go get some rest for the wedding tomorrow.
It's only been 3 hours, Josephine. We have plenty of time.
Don't call me that, Judith.
Based on the material I've let you hear so far, you may think this play to be about the three sisters talking through their traumas and all their emotional issues, leaning more towards the 1980s style of character-driven dramas a la Hannah and the Sisters and the likes. Well, that's technically true, except that the sisters don't have that much big impact on the whole thing, because this story has difficulties in selecting its storytelling methods.
What I mean is that in the next morning Joe is already at the church preparing for the ceremony when Melanie brings a box of Joe's old stuff saved from their old house. One such item is a mirror, and little under 30 minutes into the story she starts to do literal reflecting as she suddenly talks with her 14-year-old self, played by Emmy Walsh, who uses the name Josie. Thankfully this is not a sudden switch to magical realism and is just in Joe's head, but this portion lasts a significant chunk, like 20 minutes in total. Not the conversation, mind you, but this whole reflection segment that is sprinkled with flashbacks to her youth where she speaks in 90s lingo, and it feels like the story is interrupted to pour in the last required background info. What even more amusing, it is implied that this all happens in real time.
Added to that, Emmy Walsh isn't as confident of an actor yet, as her Joe/Josie is way less energetic than what the script demands, and there's constant fumbling on her lines, but to her credit, she managed to positively surprise during drama portions.
Mother, she was attacking me again. She knew that I had Luke over. She freaked out on me.
Who the heck is Luke?
Lucas, that geeky kid from math class.
What? You invited him? Why?
Long story. But why is Mother home? She's not supposed to be here until she got better. But she's still just as angry as ever.
Dramatic is something more scenes towards the end would have needed, but due to her teacher mannerisms, it feels like Jo treats her mother's traumatizing behavior as more of an annoying nuisance. If pictures at an exhibition had too much melodrama, then reflection has too little of it. The acting style is generally reserved, which doesn't serve many of the scenes, and it has several bizarre storytelling solutions. One another being that Melanie's twin brother Chad has 0 lines and practically doesn't even need to exist. But in its dialogue writing it is competent, so I suppose I can with hesitation recommend it. Now there's only one of these videos to do with the so far latest 4 podcast plays, but that amount depends on if I manage to find them all from the depths of the internet. If anyone out there can direct me to the whereabouts of podcast plays Mafioso Spills and Our Day and Night by Teikun Unusual Warsmith III, I'd be grateful.